Okay, we're going live.
Okay.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Current resolution. I'm just dealing with a little bit of technical issues. This is the first time I've used this program, so if you bear with me here.
All good.
Okay, welcome back to Glass Bottom Boat. We're here with a friend today. I just wanted to make a quick apology for the sound quality on the last video. There's a bit of a mic issue. It was streaming from a few different places, so I'm hoping to have that resolved. I have somebody on who's going to let me know if our sound quality is good coming through YouTube. So we're doing things a little bit different today, so there might be some bumps in the road, but I believe the message is far more important than any bumps we may be experiencing here. So today I have a good friend on who has also dealt with a lot of the issues that we speak about here on this channel. I wanted to give her an opportunity to speak, especially on a day like today, being May 1st, a very auspicious day for the people who have our children. So I'm just going to start things off. The main purpose for this channel is to put out information that we believe would be helpful to others experiencing similar situations, or understanding how these things happen, or what it looks like, or how it's not dealt with. So that's what I want to try to focus our efforts towards, other than just, talking about the nitty gritty and all the experiences of things, because it's can be quite horrific, and we got to make sure we're still moving forward and trying to do something about this. So I think at first I wanted to start out just asking maybe a little bit of background. If you could just tell us how, without too many details, what you've experienced trying to resolve certain issues, and what you've seen, and how we ended up coming to know each other. Maybe that might be a good place to start for the viewers.
Sure, sounds good. So hi everybody, my name is Ramona Friesen, and today marks a very dark day. This is why I'm wearing black and white, no makeup. I'm not celebrating today because 7 years ago today, I officially lost custody of my two children, my young daughters. In a court system that is anything but just, it's not even a legal system. So that being said, I've been in this battle for 8 years. I fled domestic violence. I tried to make things work for 10 years with my ex-husband, and to no avail. And when I discovered that my children were also in danger as well as myself due to disclosures, that's when I knew that I had to step up and I had to get out. And sadly, I got out and they did not. So forgive me for my emotion today. It's a difficult day. May 1st always comes around as a day of death for me in what has become now my new normal, which shouldn't be for any parent. For mothers, for fathers who want to protect and love and give their children the best care they can and give them the best possible present and future and build into their lives. And that bond is something that's so precious, so amazing. Children, I believe, are a gift from God. And my children do want to be with me. So I will never stop, even after I get my children back, which I believe will happen soon. And I'm also a children's advocate across Canada. And as far as meeting Ashley, we actually were privileged to be in the same support group, which is offered across Canada. It's a prayer group, and obviously trying to resolve some of these issues with as little I guess, contention as possible, and also with prayer. And that's how we met through this and discovered we have a lot in common. We both have two children that have been taken from us in a system that saw the abuse, saw the disclosures, heard the disclosures, and did nothing about it. In fact, seemed to reward the abuser. So I believe that we have been punished for just simply trying to protect our children. Um, is there, sorry, I hope I answered your question.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome.
Okay.
Also, that's perfect. That's what I wanted to get at. There's another thing. In my first video, I kind of went over some of the generalities of what this stuff looks like in the system, but I wanted, now that I have you on, I just wanted to touch on some of the physical, emotional, and mental things that we go through. People have a certain understanding of credibility, and when you're manic or when you're displaying a lot of emotion for some reason, that makes you uncredible. And I wanted to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, and how it manifests, and maybe some of the physical and emotional, mental manifestations you've experienced through this situation. You've got a lot more time in it than me. I had a fairly abusive childhood in that, so I'm not unknown to what these things look like. But definitely, as the years carry on, and what I like to call the torture program continues, it definitely starts to weigh on you. So I was wondering if you would be able to touch on maybe some of the medical things you're experiencing right now from this lifetime. Really, it feels like many, many lifetimes of what you've experienced.
For sure. So as I mentioned before, we're painted as in the courts as crazy as soon as we show any emotion, and yet we are multifaceted beings. I have a background in music. I have 2 music degrees. I've been a music teacher for years with children, no issues whatsoever, no abuse, nothing. And I was accused of having mental health issues by my ex-husband, by his legal team, by the courts. As soon as I started to show emotion, as soon as I broke down and I cried on the stand because my children were taken away from me, because I heard of disclosures of abuse from their dad towards the children. And how can it not affect you? Any mom, any dad that's a good mom, good dad out there is going to cry, is going to be angry. It's a natural human response. And as the psychology community knows, it's fight or flight. It actually manifests in the body. I have a background as well. I took my paramedic training years ago. And quite honestly, it's faith in the good Lord and also the paramedic training that has saved me and sustained me these 8 years of living hell without my children. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, actually manifests after a person or persons have experienced something that's traumatic, whether it's the death of a child, death of a spouse, a war-torn zone. I have a friend who's actually living here where I reside, and he's actually an ex-Vietnam vet. I just had coffee with him yesterday, and he's suffering from PTSD, seeing how many men he had to basically fight for our country. And, he's still dealing with the aftermath of that. I compare it very similarly to what my friend goes through. What you think is a norm, you get married, you go off in the sunset, or you find a partner and you think it's love, and then you cohabitate and you reproduce with these people, and you have amazing young God-given children, gifts of God from above, and then to have that snatched away. I'm sitting here for a reason. I'm sitting here in front of my children's, in front of their full yet empty crafts and games cupboard, and a picture of me and them right above. I don't know if you can see. And these are untouched. These are untouched games, puzzles, crafts, you name it. Because it's empty. It's like grieving the death of someone who's still alive. That's what it is. It's unbelievable. Imagine that you worked your whole life for an amazing job to get that promotion. and then someone comes along and just and gives it to someone else, just like that. And you have to sit there day after day, night after night, wondering what happened, what you did wrong. There's a lot of guilt involved. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of blame. There's a lot of the big word guilt. Over your head, you feel like people in the community can't trust you anymore. I've been a music teacher in the community for years. And people look at me and say, well, what the hell's wrong with you? Why did you lose your children? You must be a bad mom. You must have done something wrong. You must be abusive, verbally, physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually. None of that. It's simply because there's a system that is very broken and unfortunately protects the perpetrator.
I like to say it's not broken, it's working exactly as it was designed to work. There's a lot of people that, and the reason why I like to say that is because, like how you were explaining, oh, you must have done something wrong. You know, the system doesn't, do this. Yes, it does. And case after case, it's actually designed to do this. This family court has nothing to do with the best interests of the children, even though that's what they propagate. You read the acts, you read the books, you read, and they really write it all out nice and pretty and they spell it out. But when you actually get into it, it's designed to take your money. It's designed to destroy your family. It's designed to traumatize you and your children. And that's exactly what it's doing. I was wondering if you could touch on maybe some of the most recent medical things that you've been experiencing, which are a byproduct of the stress, where it's now manifesting in the body.
Sure. So I've been a healthy individual for the most part most of my life. I've had asthma and allergies, but nothing serious. The odd, dislocation from sports or whatever, that sort of thing. Other than that, I've not had anything serious, no cancer, none of that to deal with up until 2 months ago when everything came crashing down. My doctor explained it best as, again, a manifestation of the PTSD, the trauma of not being able to hold my children, not being able to take them to school and be involved in school. I can take them, I can drive them, but I'm not allowed to be involved in the school, in their projects, assisting with homework with the teachers, talking to them, talking to the medical community. My youngest daughter is having serious health issues with incredible joint pain and asthma as well. And what I've been experiencing personally is I actually just had no energy. I was can't sleep. And my doctor said, Ramona, it's not that you are a depressed individual. You're very upbeat, very passionate about what you do. You're very celebratory about life. But she explained the fact that I've been at this level of fight or flight for 8 years, just sitting here trying to maintain, trying to work 3-4 jobs at a time through the night, just to make ends meet after everything was taken away from me. I always joke around that I went from riches to rags. I went from Bears Paw to East End, which is a dive. I'm grateful for a house. However, it's nothing like what I was used to living. And I don't care about that. I care about my health. I care about children. And what else is manifested in my body is I have Achilles tendonitis now. I have 3 breast lumps. I have a lump on my thyroid, and low energy, high blood pressure, not sleeping. And again, my doctor said, I don't see it as depression. Yes, you're depressed. Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be having anxiety attacks? Who wouldn't be having moments when I go to play piano in the community and I have to run out of the building because I just have this. What if they're going to come after me? What if not fear-mongering, it's paranoia, it's not schizophrenia, I have no mental health issues whatsoever, have all the paperwork to prove it. I'm of sound mind. I went back to school, took justice and psychology, and my health is failing simply because there's only so long a person can go at this level and not have the depletion happening, not having a manifestation like you said, Ashley, about how it manifests in our physical body, the emotional, the mental, the physical, or the mental emotional strain that goes on day in, day out. We don't have our children. We are literally, and this is why I wore this type of shirt, is feeling like we're feeling like there's nothing we can do. They are being abused. They are unprotected.
That's exactly, we're just getting a bit of an echo coming through here. I just want to get an update on your cell phone you had there. Is it on mute? still on mute?
I might just shut it off.
Yeah, that might be the easiest way to go about it right now.
Okay.
Are we still getting the echo? There's just a bit of a delay between it coming through, and that's why I just wanted to make sure that the sound quality is, because then we end up doing it over and over again, right?
Sure, it's now.
No, absolutely, and definitely, it's the torture program. I like to liken it to help other people understand that if you were in a war zone and you know, your country had been captured and they were holding you and you were having to watch these people torture and abuse your children in front of you, and there's nothing you could do about it, how would you feel? And most people can at least picture that, you know, because it's a very visceral visual image, and they can understand how traumatizing that would be. Except here in our quote-unquote first world, we found a way to do that to people while hiding it, while making it seem unbelievable, while, you know, claiming. You touched on a few points there that are also contained within my playbook of how the system operates, on how it, you know, makes you out to be crazy, and then designs a system where you attribute those characteristics of somebody who is being heavily tortured to insanity, which is ridiculous. And because the police aren't doing anything, because the child protection isn't doing anything, because the courts aren't doing anything, well, then it must be in your head.
Right.
Because they actually believe that these systems are set up to protect you, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And I think that's the main reason for doing this channel, is people are going to experience these things in their own lives, whether you know, they're having to pay for a piece of property they don't own, and they're being manipulated that way. They're working at a job that they don't agree with, and they're following orders for fear of losing their house, and with what's going on in the world and what we're seeing right now, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. This is only the beginning. We hear about stories of Nazi Germany where they were taking kids away, and we look back and say, oh, that could never happen here, except it is happening here.
It is.
And it's been happening here since this country began, except they got better at hiding it. They got better at making the victims out to seem like they're out of their minds and they're not telling the truth. And active silencing, that's a huge part of it, is going out of their way. That's something I wanted to touch on too, is abusers. And when you do start to fight up against this and not agree with being abused, whether it's verbal, mental, physical, whatever it may, you know, psychological, what happens is, you know, they call your friends and family, they try to destroy your name, they start rumors about you, they call your place of business. They go out of their way to make your life as humanly impossible as possible. And the courts do the exact same thing. The lawyers are just horrific. They're absolutely horrific. And then we have the child protection agencies, quote unquote child protection, right, that are not educated. Most of the people working in that field, not only are they not empathetic individuals, but they're not very intelligent. And they follow orders, and they just, you know, read from a script that was mainly written by pedophiles. And that's how they live their life. And this is how our families are being treated. And, you know, they really target low-income families or people. If you want to just kind of touch on the abusive nature of and how what we experience in the abusive relationship is then mirrored and supported by the system. So 9 times out of 10, the system is supporting the abuser because they all operate under the same playbook, under the same operating system.
They do. Absolutely. For sure. Wow, thank you for giving such a amazing overview, Ashley. I really appreciate it. I can't say enough. For me, the abuse began on the honeymoon, and having grown up in the religious box, they call it. It was you take your vows till you die. You stay until you're dead. So you
So
don't
you don't
dare,
dare,
raise
raise
a
a
little
little
peep or
peep or
whatever.
whatever.
You just
You just
stay. And
stay.
like I
And like I
said,
said,
it was
it was
physical, and then
physical,
it
and then it
escalated.
escalated.
And I
And
stayed
I
for
stayed
10
for
years
10 years
thinking I
thinking
didn't
I
have
didn't have
enough,
enough,
thinking that
thinking that
that's
that's
just my
just my
norm,
norm,
and
and
wear
wear
long
long
sleeve
sleeve
sweaters.
sweaters.
And friends
And
would say,
friends would say,
what are you
what are you
doing?
doing?
Teaching their
Teaching
kids
their kids
piano,
piano,
and
and
it's
it's
a
a
hot
hot
summer's
summer's
day,
day,
like May or
like May or
June, well,
June, well,
spring
spring
day.
day.
And then they
Then they
discovered the
discovered the
bruises, and that
bruises
I
and
was
that
an
I was an
abused
abused
woman.
woman.
And
And
I don't
I
sit
don't
here
sit
having
here having
all
all
my
my
crap together. I have my issues that contributed
contributed.
because we teach people how to treat us, and I thought I didn't deserve better. And my, I guess, modus operandi was to yell and to scream at my ex, which of course just gave him more fuel for his fire. And sadly, I believe that he has characteristics of what a psychopath or narcissist truly are. That is, no remorse. They enjoy seeing their victim suffer. And I lived with that for 10 years. And then after I fled domestic in May of 2011. He went across Canada and conducted a character assassination, taking our mutual address book of contacts and called anyone and everyone I had ever toured with. I'm a professional musician. And he got a hold of them. He called family, friends. He did a character assassination, even using my mom and her past childhood sexual abuse, alleging that he was going to be thrown in jail for being a pedophile. I don't want to get into the particulars, but this is how these men work, and women. It's not gender specific. Um, and there is a lot of uneducated people within the system, as well as people that are actually part of the whole nightmare, I call it, of the justice system, that actually are contributing, that are abusers themselves, perpetrators, that are pedophiles, that are running all kinds of different rings. And my experience was, when I went into the courts, I thought, oh, this is great. I've got a restraining order. I've got disclosures of abuse, both from myself and my children. It's over. My nightmare is over. Little did I know that my nightmare was just beginning.
Yeah, that's just
Because
how they find
courts
what
use
they
it.
need to hide.
Yes, and they use that.
I I do in later days, like we've just started the channel. I wanted to let you know too, for some reason, whenever I switch to your video, we're getting an echo. So I'm going to leave it on my video until you say your goodbyes, which, so people can't see you. I apologize, but I'm trying to
Okay.
keep the technical issues down. I'm not too sure what is
Sure.
creating that, but when I switch to your video, we're getting an echo on you. So I'd rather people can hear your voice and your message than
Sure.
necessary, just so you have a heads up. But we're at the beginning stages of disclosure on this channel, and I
Yes.
think it's very important that people can take the lessons and the wisdom that we've gleaned and learned and apply it to their own situations. But it is definitely my intention to continue to disclose the realities of these situations and who these people are actually working for
Yeah.
and what's actually happening to the children. But I definitely, I don't want that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, like this couldn't possibly be happening. Well, it is, and there's
Yes.
an extensive amount of information and evidence that this is exactly what it's happening. Luckily, we're at a time in the world when a lot of people are waking up to how these things work. Like, we think the mafia is just outside organization ran by the Italians or whatever, and
No.
no. Your government is a mafia. Yeah,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
this is something I learned very young growing up, because I was raised in a criminal household. And as soon as I kind of got out into the world, I started to realize that what I was being raised under and what the world was under was very similar. It's just the ones making the rules never went down for the crimes.
Right.
And that was quite clear to me. So it's like an onion, and that peels off, and you get another layer and another layer and another layer. There was one other, I laid out what I really wanted us to touch on today, because I know you're short of time, and I definitely want to do some deeper dives with you, but I thought this was a good place to kind of start and get some information out. Do you remember, there was one other point? So we wanted to go into the post-traumatic stress disorder, the system. Excuse me. Is there anything that you would like, just if I open it up here, anything that you would like to say pertaining your case, or future on things you want people to know, things you might think are
Hmm.
relevant. I just want to open it up here for you.
Hmm. Well, I do want to put a disclaimer in, that is that there's a court order on me, and basically freedom of speech. We have a right to speak out, and I've tried to go to the courts for help, and I've been banned from the courts. So what do you do when you're asking for help? Um, and in fact, I say this quite bluntly, and this is to help other people out there that are scared, that think that the system is God and one with God, and that we must bow down and just accept abuse. That's not what we're called for. We're called to make a difference. We're called to be a voice for the voiceless. Thank you so much, Ashley, for that. In fact, before we met, I had an organization I started called Voice 7, Voices of Innocent Children Encouraged, and I'm now happy to talk with you further about amalgamating my nonprofit with yours, and to get people on board with the same exact thing, because it's not about he said, she said. It's about focusing on the children, focusing on bringing the children home, giving them the best that they can post-traumatic abuse control. And I guess what I wanted to say too was that Justice Nixon, I wrote him. I asked for his recusal on my case. I CC'd the MPs, the MLAs, even wrote the Queen and the Prime Minister, not realizing that a lot of these people are actually involved. However, that being said, Justice Nixon did recuse himself. I even CC'd the media, Cochrane Times, as well as Calgary Herald. So I say bring it on. There is no trying to basically punish us anymore. We are a voice to be reckoned with. We are a voice for the voiceless. And I would just challenge and encourage any one of you mums or dads, fight. Like one of my close supporters said, girl, you keep fighting with one fingernail, keep swimming with one fingernail if you have to, because you are fighting an evil that is unmeasurable, unbelievable, but there's also a good that is a hell of a lot stronger
Yeah,
than what
they
you're
they
actually
may
fighting.
be they may be well organized in their beliefs and have had
Yeah.
to go through these brainwashing programs, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them, they start as babies, which is what I experienced, was the
Yeah.
indoctrination and the start of raising them up. And the crazy thing, like, everything's crazy about this, but the people involved actually believe that the only way that their children are going to be successful is to hand them over to these groups. Like, that
Oh my
they're
gosh.
so twisted. They're all
Yeah.
so twisted. And I just wanted to touch on, yeah, as organized as they are, as well communicatable as they are,
Mm-hmm.
when you are in line with Source, when you are in line with God, when your purpose is that of service to others, and
Mm-hmm.
we're all on one team. And
That's right.
just like they work in their way, those fighting the good fight
Mm-hmm.
are all on the same page. And I believe we are at a precipice.
Yes.
There is a definite, I don't like to get too religious about things, just because so much of religion has been
Mm-hmm.
purposefully used as a way to control the population and to
Right.
keep you from knowing who you really are, to
Mm-hmm.
keep you from understanding your true history, to keep you from understanding what God sent you here to be, what He created you to be. And
That's
it's
right.
all twisted and malformed. So I try to avoid a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that. And also because we were in some groups and things, and
Yeah.
in an effort to support people, it really just ended up into arguments, and people
Mm-hmm.
trying to defend beliefs, and literally attacking other people
Mm-hmm.
for their beliefs
Mm-hmm.
because they were possibly different from their own, which to me just is a sign of projection, and it's a sign of
Yes. Yeah.
internal, like, you haven't really come to your own conclusion. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really important that we encourage other people to have their own relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that looks like, do not judge yourself. Do not, if it doesn't line up with what you're being told you're supposed to believe, that's fine. You need to have a relationship, a personal relationship with
Yes.
your creator. And you don't
Yeah.
have to tell anybody about it. You don't have to explain what it is. You don't have to get in. But if you have that guiding light, if you have that direction, and you are put into situations like we've experienced, you're going to make it through. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have that, you're going to get destroyed. There's no way about it. Like it really is that heavy and that ugly without that connection, without that that trust and that faith and that understanding that there is something so much greater than this place, that you will be destroyed by the day-to-day happenings and the things that you're witnessing and seeing.
Right.
You have to understand that there's a much bigger picture, and there is a plan, and you are part of that plan, and it gives you courage, because that's these systems, they want to destroy you. They want to absolutely destroy you, and they do it through fear, and they do it through intimidation, and they do it through blackmail. So if you can get over and truly have that connection to source and repent for whatever it is in your life that you've done wrong, and have that internal dialogue where you're striving to be a better person, they don't have anything over you.
Right.
The only way that that system continues to operate is by having something over you. And it's you who get to control whether or not that is held over you. And that's what people miss. That's something that I've experienced with these groups, is you see people who are so stuck in these patterns. Oh, that was what I wanted to bring up, of just going over the situations over and over again, and the injustices of it. And as valid as that is, it keeps you in that state.
It does.
It keeps you running in circles. So that was one thing I wanted to touch on, that I'm seeing, because a lot of this is recognizing the pattern. And when you recognize the pattern of how it operates, you can apply it to so many situations in your life.
Yep.
And what you see with the court systems is they keep you running in circles and running in circles. And they say, oh, if you just do this, and if you just do that, and if you just do this, but none of it happens. And then you get into the advocacy groups, and, oh, if we just do this protest, and if we just do this petition, and if we just do this, and if we just get this done, then things, same thing. You're just running in circles and running in circles. And I've experienced this as well with some of the newer age community groups that are, and research groups that are releasing information about what's really going on in the world. And they're communities of beautiful people, but there's a lot of infiltration. And it's that same principle of keep you busy, thinking that you're involved in something, and you're doing something. You're not. You're running in circles. You're not actually being. You would do more in your life to feed the homeless person on the corner, to go to court with the single mother who has no supports.
That's right.
That would do more to help break apart this system.
That's right.
Than manufacturing all of these other ideas that really aren't doing anything.
Exactly. You touched on something. Can I jump in,
Absolutely,
Ashley?
absolutely.
Okay. So you touched on something as far as keeping you going in circles. I like what a good friend said, that if we go back to the court, some people believe the courts have their place. I believe the way it's constructed right now, that is their construct is not set up for basically for positivity, for growth. It has one agenda, and we can discuss that on another show. But basically, it keeps you chasing your own tail, and it is a devil's playground. I love what she said. It's a devil's playground. And you will never win when you're in court, because it's an agenda. It's like pre-stamp, pre-fabbed, and I know I'm really sticking my neck out there. But again, to keep us in circles, to keep us focused, to keep us as victim, and quite frankly, I just came through a program that was recommended to me, and I handed in my victims cards. And I couldn't do that a while ago, but I can now, and that is because you know what, we're running out of time, and we need to stop. I'm not judging anyone where they're at as far as their journey. I was there for a long time, but to lay down those victims cards, and to realize that time is of the essence with these children, that we need to stand up, we need to see the tactics, we need to, I believe, on another show, talk about the PTSD, how that affects us, how we're going to stay out of these circles, how we're going to provide support to families that are going through this, and specifically how we have a strategy to get those children out of there. And I believe it is exposure, very much so. And like you said, again, everybody has their own faith, And quite honestly, that's the reason I'm standing, is my faith in God. And it's a personal thing. It's not a bunch of do's and don'ts. And we can't enforce that on someone else. But again, once they experience the love of the Creator, a lot of these other things can be healed. These perpetrators, I come at it from a different perspective. I don't coddle them. I don't justify what they're doing. But at the same time, they're broken people that need help. And sadly, the system is evil and it is enabling them. And that's something that I have a passion to say is, if we don't stand up, if we don't do something, it is first and foremost paramount that we get our children out of there, that they are safe, that they're able to heal from this trauma. The other side of the coin is that we need to stop enabling the abusers. And the abusers are judges, they're lawyers, they're RCMP, they're CFS that are involved in a very a quagmire, a system that, well, that's another discussion for another time, but just to encourage. And again, I just want to encourage people. May 1st is a very dark day, and I will get emotional because it's the day that my babies were stolen. And I honestly thought that there'd be a system in place to protect me and my children upon disclosure of abuse. And it's not for me. It's simply a dark day, and I'm going to make it a beautiful day. I'm praying that a year from now, it's going to be a day of rejoicing. It's going to be a day when they are home for good. It's going to be a day when and I'm already starting it, call it May Day. That we're going to turn around for the good of children.
Taking it back, yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the crux of this, is we will get into it more in the understanding of legal and lawful, and that God had specific laws of lawfulness that have become acts and statutes of legalese that has absolutely nothing to do with reality. Absolutely right. Nothing. And it's a lot of black magic. It's a lot of
it is.
Manipulation. Absolutely. It's a lot of, that's something I want to get into in the future too. I don't want to take, I know you got to go soon, so I just wanted to kind of wrap this up, but I really appreciate having you on today, Ramona, and I know we'll have more talks in the future. I think we had some technical issues today. Hopefully we can get this figured out. I don't know why it's echoing just on your video, because I'm not getting it here, but I guess it's echoing on the stream. So we'll get it all worked out. There's so many things to do, and I just want to let you know how much I care about you, and I love you, and we're going to get through this, and we're going to keep bringing the information forward. And if we can't save our own children, we can at least raise awareness that someone else's child doesn't have to go through the same thing. This needs to end. It needs Absolutely. To end. We, especially here in Canada, we went from residential schools. Mm-hmm. You know, there's so much division happening right now with the child protection agencies, and they're giving the native funding back, and they're trying to make it out to be all one issue because they're hiding. They're hiding. Yes, the reality is the exact same thing is happening in Australia, is happening in the United Kingdom, is happening in America. We talk to women, both you and I, every day that have gone through this, whose children are being trafficked, sex trafficked. Through the system, not only through the families. A lot of the cases that we've discovered, the families are involved in a bigger network, and it's bloodlines, and it's control structures, and the police are involved, and the courts are involved, and these court orders, and I've seen a couple of yours that are absolutely unlawful. You would be, the amount of evidence that we have that clearly shows something is seriously wrong, and this has nothing to do with the safety of the children.
That's right.
Would disturb so many people to the point, and this isn't about disturbing people, but we need to wake up, because we are looking at another generation of broken individuals. Our families are being destroyed. This is such an important issue right now, and you know, there's so many ways to go. So if there's anything that you'd like to close on, or anything you'd like to say, I want you to get on with your day there, and you've got some stuff to do, but we will definitely come back to have more discussions around this. So thank you for joining me today, Ramona.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Love you and your cause and your kiddos too, and Dave, and I just wish you guys all the best. We will talk again soon, and I just say Godspeed. Hang on, and I love this saying, throw me to the wolves. and I'll return leading the pack. And I never wanted this. I'm sure you never wanted this. Nobody who does. Nobody signs up for this. Nobody, when you're expecting that beautiful baby, expects to have that child taken away. So I just want to wish you all the best, and love and prayers, and we will talk again soon. And I know that bigger things, good things are coming, and as we speak the truth, we are no different than a Martin Luther King or anybody else standing up and saying, okay, these children need to be protected, and justice needs to be served. And these people that are broken children that are doing this, that have now become adults that are judges and lawyers and RCMP and they need to get the help that they cried out for a long time ago and did not get. And this is why. We're not coming at it from an attacking. We're not coming at it from staying chase tail. I just want to make that real clear.
I feel bad that they didn't have anyone to protect them.
Right,
I do, exactly. But we've got to a point where they need to realize that they've been lied to as much, if not more, than the regular public. They're not who they've been told they are, and they will be the first ones on the chopping block.
That's right.
When stuff hits the fan.
That's right.
They are more disposable than regular public, and yet they believe that they're somehow put on a pedestal because they know so much, and yet they've had to be spoon-fed all of this information. Half of it isn't even true, and here we are. We didn't know Adam from Eve, and yet we've been able to put together this network and the things they're operating on. Why? Because God led us to the truth. Because we wanted to protect our children, we wanted to help them, and we needed to understand how this happened so that it couldn't happen again. So thank you so much for being here today, and we'll definitely talk again. Thank you.
Sounds great. You're welcome. Thank you, Ashley.
Love you.
Thanks. Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.